Welcome back. This is episode 7 of my Oxygen Not Included playthrough. I believe it's episode 7. In the last one we set up some Drecko Ranches, some sort of early game Drecko Ranches, and we would sort of work towards Atmo suits for this episode. But before I get started on these, I am going to further automate the incubation room. Now, you might be wondering, well, hang on, have you not just automated this? Why on earth does it need automating again? Apparently, I've been doing some reading on the wiki, and effectively, your eggs will crack themselves if they are in a storage bin for, I believe it's 10 cycles. So as long as they're not in an incubator, they will crack themselves. Now, that kind of makes my life really easy, because I will just put 2 incubators and set up 2 incubators, and then once they are... every other egg will basically just be put in a storage bin, and when they naturally crack, we will fry them off. And that will be our food source. Now, we have set up the mealwood plants. They are not currently at the temperature they need to be at, but they are getting there. I think, yeah, they're going down. And to be fair, we've only got 2 Dreckos on, really, so it's not going to be that much of an impact. But hopefully, as they get set up and we get moving a little bit more, this will pick up to full production. But we do have reed fibre for the first time. So we also need to think about where we're going to actually make the Atmo suits, and where we're going to make them get into Atmo suits. So the obvious first place is here, at the Drecko Ranch, with it being so sort of that with the environment in here being very unbreathable, it would be really good if we could get them in Atmo suits at this point. And there's a liquid lock there which will help facilitate that. And when we look over here, maybe when we move up into this area, whether we actually move up into this area or whether we move along, I think probably some Atmo suits here to help just deal with the slime biome, prevent any slime lung outbreaks again, and probably really as we expand into the other caustic biome that we've got, the Atmo suits can only really help there. But we do need to pick what we're going to make them out of. Iron is the obvious choice, because at the minute we've got loads of it, and we need... I think we're going to take some more duplicants on today, on a slightly unrelated note, because, I mean, we've got space for it. I'm conscious that I don't have many toilets, but I have, unfortunately, just dumped all of my polluted water right above where I build my base. So yeah, maybe we have to put another set of beds here, and that way they can... I mean, they will be moving through because they'll have to go to the toilets. Yeah, we'll put another set of beds here. That seems relatively harmless, doesn't it? And we'll get some doors set up there. And I know it looks uneven, like I'm aware, but if I can deal with it, you probably can, being realistic. But yeah, so for Atmo suits we need... Have we researched everything we need for them? I bet we haven't. No, we haven't. Right, okay. So we'll set that off. Effectively, the big one is the exosuit forge, and the checkpoints. The rest of it can kind of wait. I'm not going to be making a textile loom, for the pretty much sole reason I'm not going to put them in clothes. I'm quite content with them being in just as they are type thing, rather than making them like warm or cold. I'm going to try and keep the temperature relatively controlled here, but I mean, this carbon is going to become a problem quite quickly, and this sand as well. This is like, that's not gone how I wanted it to go, but oh well. Yeah, I'm wanting tiles in there, I think, and whether they actually do though, that's going to be another job. I'll put in... I'll just put some ladders in, just so you can kind of like get there. But yeah, I think the other thing, we've eliminated a lot of the polluted water situation. I think if we get rid of these tiles, and we should start really getting rid of the liquid reservoirs as well, because it's like, if we just hook this back one, I've got to be careful here, right? I want to hook this back one up, and I just want to... I want it to go onto that pipe. And then that way, hopefully, all of this liquid reservoir will just empty itself out. And I won't have to deal with that. And it can just sit here. There is a little bit of water on top, but I do not care. Just simply put, it's not going to be worth my hassle figuring what I'm going to do with this polluted water out. It may eventually get boiled, but until then it's pretty much going to sit where it is uninterrupted. But yeah, I suppose the first step of establishing Atmo suits, figuring out how many Atmo suits you want. So for me, I've got at the moment 6 duplicants. Really, I'm going to have 6 suits on either side if I'm wanting every duplicant to go everywhere. But I'm not particularly wanting every duplicant to go everywhere. And I think having 6 in full will probably be enough. I think we'll only have them going into the... we'll only have a few going into here, because really they shouldn't need to be going in here. Especially if I sweep everything up, which I'm going to do. There's not a whole lot they can actually be doing in here, other than, like, you know, ranching. So really maybe 1 or 2 suits there would probably be enough. I mean, hopefully. I'll put some abyssalite there as well. And then that should, yeah. So they're going to sweep all of that up when they get around to it. But I think this bedroom, hopefully, I might have to add another ladder, really, like down here, just to keep them all happy. Oh, actually, I could just drop the ladder here, couldn't I? Yeah, oh, sweet. That's helpful. I'll just drop it like that. Add the ladder. And I'm aware, again, very messy, but it's all going to be changed and reiterated 100 times, really, before anything actually happens. I'm going to need a bit more sandstone there. Yeah, so I think beds are going to be the one to do. More duplicants as well, because I think we could do with another builder, but like when you look at our food at the moment, we're living on meal, lice and omelettes. We can afford for everyone to kind of eat now, which is nice. He needs wrangling, which is helpful. So yeah, it's a strange one, because it's a bit difficult to determine how many we actually need in terms of duplicants, but I think if we got maybe another 3, that would be probably about right. Maybe another 2 to start with. But I'm more bothered about the quality of them, and that they're actually like going to be useful for me, rather than not be able to contribute. I want them to, but really I'm looking for another builder and maybe another supplier. But it's not always that clear, really. It's a strange one, because I think I'm going to need another rancher at some point, just purely for the volume of ranching that I'm planning on doing. With me having Dreckos, with me having hatches, we're going to be I'm going to be ranching a fair amount of critters, so maybe another rancher might also be probably a good idea. But yeah. So it's, at the moment, we're very much focused on the research. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut to sort of when that research gets finished. Because, I mean, it's other than that, I'm really just going to be sort of tidying things up and making sure that everything's sort of running smoothly. But once we get the research done, I'll cut back in and we can talk about, you know, Atmo suits and how those work. Okay, so the research has been complete now, and we have unlocked Atmo suits, the Atmo suit overlay, and the sort of docks that we need for it. I have set up the automation for the egg cracking type thing. Effectively, once the power wire goes in, the auto sweeper will prioritise putting them in the incubators, and failing that, if there's no incubator available, it will just put it straight into the storage bin. When the egg cracks in the storage bin after 10 cycles, it will put it in the conveyor loader, which will move it to the grill. And I have queued the deconstruction of the egg cracker, and that way hopefully we can avoid accidentally I didn't want that to be on. I suppose while it's happened, the incubators are particularly interesting, as they can be very expensive to run. They use a hell of a lot of power and produce a fair amount of heat. So really, I want to put in an automation to just completely obliterate that, so I can turn it on and off, because it does give a benefit of, like, it allows you to lullaby it, which increases the incubation rate massively. But once it's lullabied, you get that benefit anyway. So you only have to turn it on for a slight amount of time, like a very small amount of time. So I'm just going to turn it straight off. Yeah, so choose blueprint time. So I am going to say that Nisbet, although they have 3 positive traits, they aren't particularly useful, and I'll explain why. So at this stage of the game, as in once you've sort of got a few duplicants, once you've got like sort of, I would say about 6 or more, being only interested in one subject, so in this case decorating or suit wearing, can be particularly harmful, because the morale deficit you will take from teaching them skills outside of what they enjoy just isn't worth doing, in my opinion. So I'm just going to take the eggs, and I will I will queue them in my egg cracker that I have just dismantled. This egg cracker has now returned. That's sort of unfortunate, but never mind. Anyway, Atmo suits. So I've decided I'm going to build them here, and the reason I'm putting them here purely because I've already built the heavy wire in, so it's just objectively saves me doing a fair bit of work. So I'm gonna queue some gold to go. That's what, half a ton of gold. We'll say 2 tons of gold. 1 ton of gold, sorry. And hopefully that will allow us to get sort of going. So yeah, once that, who's in charge of crushing this? Yeah, we have a mechanic somewhere causing mayhem, and this is all now sort of going and leaving the water storage, getting dumped in the big. I mean, I hope we have enough room. We should, but if we don't, it can kind of be expanded slightly. So that might also be another job for slightly later on. But yeah, what I will do is I'm not going to make you sit there and watch pay fabricate for half an hour. So I will cut back in once this has been done. Okay, so welcome back. We have done a fair amount of refining, and we can now afford to build the exosuit forge, I should say. So I'm just going to put that straight down there. It's a relatively straightforward build, and I am fairly certain you don't need to be skilled to use the actual forge. You can just kind of do it. And I think I'm going to build the suit out of iron rather than copper. I think it's slightly more resistant to temperature, but maybe that's just wrong. Maybe copper might be the better choice. I don't know. I think I'm going to build it out of iron anyway, because we've got loads of it. And once we've got Atmo suits kind of set up in a way, I think the best place for me to put them will definitely be over where the ranches are. Just as sort of a side note, the mealwood is going well, but I've disabled harvesting on it. And the reason that I've done that is so that these guys will always have something to eat. Really, once it's in full motion and they've got, like, once it's full, effectively, they won't ever be ready to harvest, because it will sort of the Drecko population will maintain the mealwood themselves, so it will never grow to a point where it's needed to be harvested. But for now I've disabled harvest just to avoid any starving Dreckos, I suppose. But yeah, the exosuit forge is in there now. It is, what, 300 refined metal for 2 units, and 2 units of reed fibre for 1 Atmo suit. I think these are great, but not only do we have to, so I need 300 per suit. I've got 6 duplicants, so I need, what? 300 per, I need, oh god, right, we'll just say 40. So that'll come out to 2 tons, and that will be fine. The rock crusher is a particularly wasteful process, It literally produces half of what you put into it, which isn't ideal. But at this stage in the game, before I can get a metal refinery set up, it is the only choice that we have, and it is by far the best choice for ensuring that we can get them up before we get to the oil biome. Now, I have been thinking about where I'm going to put my Atmo suits and what I'm going to use them for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a liquid lock here. And you may be thinking, well, hang on, have we not just built a liquid lock directly above here? And you'd be right to question that. However, what I'm going to do, I want to maintain the pressure of the environment in this bit of the chlorine, and I don't want it mixing with the carbon. And when I get Atmo suits and I put them in here, I'm going to open this up with a liquid lock so I can start mining down a little bit more. And it won't solve our carbon issue, but it will allow us to explore the map a little bit more, get some more resources going, and probably really get towards the oil biome will be where we're aiming for. Because really, the managing gas pressure comes down to what you care about, and whether you care if something is messy or not. So for me, I quite like my main area to be quite clean, my ranching area to be quite clean, but I mean, this mining bit that I'm going to do down here, it doesn't particularly need to be, that the gases don't need to be maintained as separate. Anyway, now, I think the obvious choice here, of the lot of them, is going to be Hassan. However, I mean, the reason he's the obvious choice is because his negative trait is the only one out of the 3 duplicant options that I am okay with. I'm okay with Hassan not being a doctor, but I'm not okay with Ari eating twice as much as everyone else, and I'm not okay with Gossman consuming more air than everyone else. The reason why mouth breather is particularly harmful stems down to Atmo suits mainly. Atmo suits contain oxygen for the duplicants to breathe. If they breathe more of it, they can spend less time in an Atmo suit, so it just massively hinders their productivity. I'm going to take Hassan, and he will be... I haven't decided what I'm going to make him do yet, but I'm confident that no matter what I make him do, he's going to be better than no one. So I'm just going to drop him in. I will build him a mess table, but he's already got a bed somewhere. If I give him this bed, and I will make him a schedule. So for the scheduling, I've kind of let this go a little bit because I've had 3 per sort of schedule. I much prefer it when they're on staggered schedules and it's 2 per schedule, so I'm actually going to set that up now. The reason I prefer it this way, it just avoids any toilet issues. The toilets can be pretty tricky to get right, he says, because they just go when they want to go. So we'll put Stinky on this one, and we'll put... No, there's no one else, is there? Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, I mean, they aren't... It's not a problem if they have to wait a little bit for the toilet, but I just prefer if they all get to go when they want to go without having to worry about anything like that. So, building another liquid lock, and this will be... I suppose they'll come through this way, so it'll kind of just flow quite neatly. But we'll have to see how they get on, because it's... I mean, it's not great, is it? I should probably build in a cover for that. It might be fine there. Yeah, that'll be fine. As I say, it's not a catastrophe if they get through, like if the gas moves between the two, because the hydrogen's going to float anyway. So it's always going to stay relatively near the top. But I would obviously prefer that it works the way I want it to. I think as well we can build an incubation chamber down here for the Dreckos, just in the interest of ensuring that we get this population up a little bit more. But I'd quite like to get them onto the plastic production, so I'll need the glossy Drecko eggs for that. Anyway, we're going to make 6 Atmo suits, and we have the reed fiber for it. But they will kind of just do that when it happens, and as it does happen, it will sort of, yeah, we're going to be fine. But I will set up the dock, I suppose, and show you what that looks like in the checkpoints. So this is a Atmo suit checkpoint. The purpose of the checkpoint is to provide instructions for the duplicants to get into their Atmo suits. I think the checkpoints are generally okay to use. They're not too tricky to get right. You kind of just point them the way you want your duplicants to go, and they go through them, and it's relatively painless. And I'm going to put one down there, but I'm not going to do it just yet because I'm going to build the docks first. So the docks, they are... they're 100 gold or refined metal per dock. I'm going to start with just having sort of 3, I suppose. So I'll put one there the second they deconstruct that ladder. And they house the Atmo suits. Now, the one thing that I will mention about the docks, they need a constant supply of oxygen and a constant supply of power, which can make them pretty intensive on your energy grid. Thankfully for us, we have set up ranching early game, and therefore we don't really have to worry about power. We've got 3 coal generators, the batteries are pretty much always full, and we've got 4 and a bit tons of coal just from the ranches, and overall we've got a massive backup of coal as well there. This hatch, is he producing coal? He will be. I have no idea where that coal's actually ending up, but never mind. As you can see, this is going to feed itself. If it gets too much for our grid, by having the Atmo suits on, I will just expand a little bit. But yeah, so as you can see, the Atmo suit docks need, they need a fair few different things. But once you get them in, they kind of go okay. The main one, the important one as well, deliver the suits. And because if there's no suits that get delivered, they don't just do that by default, which I think is quite weird, because why would you build an Atmo suit dock if not to deliver suits? I suppose if you've got like a loop where they can come in from a different angle with their Atmo suit on or off and whatever else. But the checkpoints are interesting. I want to disable this checkpoint, otherwise they will refuse to go in to the other bit without the Atmo suits. There we go. But there's another one, clearance level. Effectively, this relates to whether they can pass through or not if they have nowhere to store their suit. So effectively, if they're coming back through, is it back through or is it the other way? I think it's back through. If they come back through the space, whether they can actually come through with their suit on. So if, as I say, if you have a big loop and there's nowhere for them to put their suit, they'll have to go all the way back around the big loop if you've got this on. But if you click, like, what's the other one? Always, they will just take the suit off at there, at the checkpoint. Not always a great thing, because you will very quickly run into issues of having like a big pile up of suits, and then you've got to get someone to move them from point A to point B, or do it with auto sweepers. I don't know if you can do it with auto sweepers. But I mean that's generally speaking, that's why what that setting's for, really. At this level in the game, it's not going to particularly affect me whether there's clearance or not, because I'm not planning on having everyone running in here and cleaning everything up, because I'm going to get them to sweep it all out first, which is what they're kind of doing now. So yeah, I mean the liquid lock here is pretty much done. I mean, it is done there. Is it? Yeah, I think that's going to be... No, it's going to need more than that, isn't it? Yeah. That's going to need to go up to 2,000, I think. And then that'll... Although that is still technically a liquid lock, so I might just leave it there. We'll see. But I'm also going to dismantle this heavy watt wire, because I plan on building a heavy watt plate there to just make life slightly easier. We're almost liquid locking here. But yeah, once we've got the heavy watt wire, we'll get all of this set up, and we'll set up the incubation for the Drecko eggs. How are we doing up here? So we've got 18 hatchling eggs. So really we could do with another incubator, because of the demand of the Atmo suits for refined metal. It's going to be quite challenging, because we need to get the Atmo suits up before we do anything else. So the incubation sort of building will have to wait. Yeah, But as I say, at the minute we're waiting for reed fibre anyway, which is going to come from these guys. You can see based on their scales at the moment, it's stunted growth because it wasn't in hydrogen at the time. But once it goes up in the top, which it spends like most of its time up there, it's sort of no issues. But yeah, I think we're doing okay at the moment, all things considered. It's going to be just a case of waiting for them to get these docks up and running. But I suppose in the meantime, we do have to figure out how we're going to get oxygen to here. Now, if we look at my materials overlay, you can see that in most places, everything's a little bit messy. So we've got some polluted oxygen here, and that's because of the slime feeding our sage hatchlings and hatches. We've got a big carbon dioxide bank there. We've got the hydrogen and the chlorine dancing around. But here, it's kind of stable to a degree. And it's stable by design because this is kind of the centre point of the base. So I think the best place that I'm going to put it is kind of... I'm going to literally whack down a gas pump there. And I will run an insulated pipe. I will build it out of probably igneous rock. And we'll just run it down like this. Probably run it through the bedroom, why not? And then just into there. Now, this pipe and network is slightly closer than I want it to be, but I don't particularly mind. It's probably going to get maintained anywhere, and this gas pump's going to have to move, because as I upset, I suppose, the environment in here by mining all this out and letting this chlorine free, the purpose of this gas pump is to pump carbon dioxide into the Drecko Ranches. When I mess this up, there'll be no carbon dioxide for that, so that will have to move, and I'll have to extend the gas pipe. But that's fine. It's not a problem, I should say. And we'll just connect these up. But yeah, what I'll do is I will cut to when the gas pipe goes in. Although they are getting on quite quickly with that. So yeah, I suppose I'll just put the power wire in for it, and I will automate it with an Atmo sensor. The reason for this, I'm building it directly above my fridge storage and my food storage. I need this environment to be sterile, and what I mean by sterile is not in oxygen. If it's in oxygen, your food will decay faster, and as you can see, I am building quite an amount of food. At the minute, we're still kind of living on male lice and various other foods, I suppose. But as the eggs get like into their full swing of things, we're going to move on to omelets, and I'd quite like them to remain insulated. You'll also see the potential load there on the wire is higher than it should be, but I'm not anticipating everything being on at the same time, if you know what I mean. It's never really going to be the case where every single building is running on this line. So I'm going to say send a green signal if above a kilo, and then that way we will pump oxygen into our Atmo suit docks. We're just waiting for one more, and we don't have enough reed fibre. Oh well. So what I'm going to do now is, once this has been built in, I'm going to build in a two tides there, and I will enable the dock, and that way we can sort of get started on making sure that everything is sort of done smoothly, and making sure they don't get any debuffs anymore, which will be nice. I think we should be moving now with the gas. Yeah, so this is just kind of going to be a smooth flow of oxygen from that gas pump. When I set up an electrolyzer and a SPOM, that can just feed straight into there. But until we get to that, this is going to be sort of the best way of doing it, really. Even if it's not particularly perfect, like there are risks with this that I lose oxygen here. If this diffuser doesn't get stocked with algae, there's a risk there, but I mean, to be fair, this way of doing it for now, it's going to be fine. I can't imagine it going particularly wrong, and if it does, it can be fixed later. But also, as you can see, just as a side note, the mealwood is fine now. The internal temperature is within an acceptable range, very, very close to not being in an acceptable range, but it is cooling down, so that's kind of the important thing. the water goes in at, I think it's about 20 degrees. Yeah, 21 degrees, comes out at about 21 degrees. So it's not particularly seismic change, but it is worth just having and having that going. And this is going to just keep working. So the docks themselves, they store like a ridiculous amount of oxygen. Yeah, so there's 200 kilos of Atmo suit. The Atmo suit itself can hold, I think it's 75 kilos of oxygen, and the dock itself can hold about 200 kilos of oxygen as well. So it's going to take a while for these to get full with oxygen, and that's why I haven't enabled the checkpoint just yet. It also gives these guys a chance to sweep everything out of here, as I've told them to do a while ago. Obviously, this is quite a low priority task for them. They have other things to do, which is why it hasn't been done just yet. But it is good that it's sort of being worked on, because as I say, the worst thing will be is if I set an errand away and it needs resources from over here. I have this checkpoint set and they can't get through, and I'm kind of sat waiting for an errand to be done that will just never get done. That liquid lock is actually the perfect example of what a perfect liquid lock looks like. In the materials overlay with this one, there is a risk that it slips through, or someone this brine disappears or whatever, whereas here there is just no chance of any mishaps occurring. It is quite pressurized in there, but that's all going to sink to the bottom anyway, so it's not a particular problem. But yeah, I'm going to let these crack on doing this and getting these out. I'll let the Atmo suits fill up with oxygen, but we will do the printable first. So who have we got? Okay. Falls asleep periodically is a no-no, just flat out. Allergies is also a no-no, so the only option that we would really have is Harold. I'm not too bothered about the decreased cuisine, as I've already got a chef. The food morale bonus is quite nice. I think Harold will be a supplier, and I think we're going to have him purely because I think it will be good to get another duplicant on the board. Harold will do his priorities. I just want him supplying. I would quite like building and digging for Hassan as well, and then this way we're just going to be kind of away there. So let's have a look at Harold. I'm going to give him the carrying straight away, and I'm going to do the same for Hassan, just because I think it's a really important one to have. The Critter Rancher, I will give him exosuit training, and I will give him both. So this will make him our highest morale need sort of duplicant. But when you look at the morale, you'll notice everything's in the 20s. The reason for that is the room management that we've done early on. They all have 6 morale. Wait, I can give them another 3 morale from the mess hall, but everything's kind of like boosted massively by the 6 morale nature reserve that just basically sits there and gives us a bonus every cycle, and it effectively costs nothing apart from planning. So it's difficult at this stage to plant wild plants. You need pips for that. So if I just leave them, they'll be fine. But yeah, I think we're in a really good spot with this at the moment. But I will cut to when the Atmo suit docks are the Atmo suits are full with oxygen. I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so welcome back. The Atmo suits now they have enough oxygen in where they're going to be okay. I had a bit of an issue with carbon dioxide being picked up from the fridges, so I've just shifted the gas pump over very, very slightly, but it's not at a point where it was causing any major problems. I just thought, in the interest of preventing it from ever becoming a problem, we'll just sort that out and save us all the chew. But I don't know if anyone noticed. I know I have just noticed, and it scared me quite massively. The coal resource has shrunk massively. The reason for that is simply because I've blocked off access to where half of the coal is, and as such, it's marked as not having it. But when I free this up, and I will just put a tile in there, that'll just prevent any issues there. But yeah, I've swept up pretty much all of this area, and we will need to get started on incubating Drecko or Drecklet eggs, whatever you prefer. and that'll probably be in the next episode. As for our sage hatchlings, I know that I've been talking about automating the sage hatchlings for ages, and that has finally been done. So we've had a massive influx of coal from the sage hatchling. We're now up to 5.6 tons, and I think we have a sage hatchling egg. We've got loads of stone hatchling eggs. No sage hatchlings that I can see though, which is a shame. But we do have the one that's incubating, about to finish incubating. I will be getting another incubation chamber in there, or an incubator, whatever you prefer. I will probably get, I can fit 4 there, and have it all done by one auto sweeper. One thing I will note on the conveyor rails, you might have noticed that it looks messy. My idea, and I think this was an intelligent plan rather than a bad one, I've just ran a massive conveyor line and added it onto my existing filter. The reason for that is I don't want to have to run 2 filters, because it all needs to go in the same place anyway. And now I have a big long line that if I build more ranches, so if I build another one up here, if I build another one up here, it'll all kind of just fall using the same ranch. Why is he starving? Yeah, he's just slow. Yeah, he's fine. But yeah, so this Atmo suit dock now, I am pretty ready to sort of get it started and get it going. But yeah, I mean, we have access to down here now. So I think, yeah, go on, I'm going to enable the building, give you a bit of an idea of how these things work and what it looks like. Never mind. Just ignore me. She's going to take her sweet time. I should probably have swept that up as well, shouldn't I, really? I don't think it's a problem. Yeah, it's just what they produce, the phosphite. Yeah, phosphorite, for me, it's never been something that I'm particularly fond of using, but it is just for fertilizer, I think. Yeah, for making fertilizer for pincher pepper plants. Pepper nut plants. For wheezeworts as well, which might be helpful later on. But as I say, I think we'll have loads of it. It's just whether we actually need any of it or not. But I'm sure we'll find out. Anyway, this is how these guys look in these. They look a bit ridiculous. I've give Stinky Atmo suit training, because if I don't, it's going to be a hell for him having to go in here and mess about. But we kind of have to figure out what the hell we're going to do next, because everyone's kind of bored now. I think there is probably something to do with this slime biome, really. I think I should excavate, just continue excavating along here. Yeah, go on, we'll do this this big project, and I'll set all of this away, and then this'll get done quite quickly, hopefully. We'll figure out what this vent is, and then I think I'll probably call it a day. Yeah, so I will, as I say, I do pretty much the exact same thing for everyone. I need to get an insulated set of tiles in here, though, because if I don't, the temperature will transfer between, and I don't want that. So I'll just do what I normally do, get some tiles in, build out of igneous rock, because there's loads of it here, and yeah, so this will, I suppose this will just take a few minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, he says. That'll do, right, so, and then they will get cracking at doing that out, and once that's done, we can probably expand up and sort of try and claim it all. It is tricky though with the pillar with oxygen. As I say, I'm trying to avoid them getting ill, even if they're really good at getting ill. But they're going to crack on and do that, and that's what it'll be. That's what will keep them busy, I suppose. In terms of down here, I would like to get some incubation rooms set up for the Drecklet eggs, or the Drecko eggs. I don't know what you'd prefer to call them, but I'm literally just going to hide down an incubator and set it to quite a high priority so they remember to do it. I truthfully don't know who will actually get round to doing this, because obviously they'll need the Atmo suit, so it's whether they actually come and do. Yeah, it's looking like Pit is gonna be the one to do it. Unsure why, but never mind. How are we looking for printing pod before we call it? bring in one more, and then we'll call it a day. I think everyone has space for a bed. Yeah, everyone's got a bed. We'll get one more mess table down. I don't think food's going to be a problem just yet. Yeah, I think we'll just leave it like that, really. Let's do our skill point. Let's put it straight into carrying for good measure. We'll want building and digging. And we'll want her on a schedule with... We'll say our own schedule. We'll just put her on. We'll just leave her on the one she's on. But yeah, I mean, that's Atmo suit set up for the first time. Well, not for my first time, but for the first time this playthrough. And I mean, hopefully this keeps everyone in this area quite happy, quite content. We're having pressure issues. Maybe. No, we're fine. But yeah, in the next one, we will expand out the Atmo suit space, I suppose, and get it into... implemented on the other side, maybe getting to tame this natural gas vent, because I've been talking about it for so long. Getting that natural gas vent sorted, it will be massive for helping with our power, but to be honest, we're not looking like we're going to need a massive amount of power, but it will allow us to get set up with sort of more industry. I would really like to get into the metal refinery bit, and get the metal refinery up and running and getting some steel going. And then probably look to get cooling started. Cooling itself will be challenging. We're going to need aqua tuners, and we'll need steel for that. But that's probably a few episodes away. For now, I'm quite content taming these slime biomes, and figuring out what we're going to do with all of our new resources. I think we are sustainable at this point. We are eating... I believe we're eating mainly omelettes. If I can check the colony report. Does it say what you've been eating in here, or does it just say you have eaten? Meal ice. What are we eating? Raw egg. And meal ice. Yeah, ignore what I was saying about omelettes. We're living on meal ice for now. But I mean, we will move on to omelettes as soon as everything gets the flow proper gets going. I'm just going to continuously do sage hatchling eggs, because I think they're, for me, one of the better things. I think we've got loads of slime at the minute, and I'd rather that gets sorted sooner rather than later. I will also build in some insulated tiles here, just for good measure. But yeah, in the next one we'll probably look to get started on some of that, expanding out our ranches. But oh, he's fine. But yeah, I think we are stable. I think we've got our oxygen production running at the moment off algae. That will not last forever, but we do have over 100 tons of it, so it will last for what feels like forever, and that is certainly a good thing to have. Obviously, if three main priorities are oxygen, food, and power, we've kind of got food down with the sages, the hatches. We've got power down with the coal from the hatches, and we've got oxygen down at the moment with algae. It will move into an electrolyzer probably in a few episodes time, but we've got a really good space for that to go. So we've got the polluted water vent. I think that's going to be another thing that we can tame. The natural gas vent or geyser will literally just be free energy every cycle, which can't be a bad thing, really. But yeah, no, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. To the one comment that I have received, thank you so much. As you probably can suspect, I am from Newcastle, just over the just across the border if you're coming from Scotland. But yeah, if you enjoyed this one, please feel free to leave a like. Message me in the comments. I will respond to every comment unless I get millions of them. But I highly doubt that will be the case. But no, thanks so much for watching today, and I will see you in the next one.